So, good afternoon, everyone. So, these are fifth lecture uh, with me. So, today we are just going to look at two topics, and we are going to look at JavaScript objects. So, I know the last time we talked about arrays, and I said arrays are special kind of objects that have their indexes and their values. So, the index serves as the key while the value is actually what you get when you reference that key. Then we now talk about introduction to OOP. So object-oriented programming. So we are going to just introduce ourselves to it and just learn the basic concept of OOP. So what is what I'm going to cover today. So I'll cover objects. So how you use objects in JavaScript. Then I'll also cover array of objects. So most times this object might not be sent through um, object might not be sent. How do I put it? It might be sent in bulk. So a safe way to send those objects in bulk is to put them in an array. So you have objects, you have array of objects, then looping through an array of objects. So you learn how to also loop through an array of objects and access its values. Then we'll talk about introduction to OOP in JavaScript. So today we are going to look at classes and constructors and how to instantiate an object, like how to create an object and access its properties too, and other things. So let's continue. So objects are special kind of variable that contains key value pairs. So that's what objects are. So they have key and they have value. So the key is always a string, or it's always a variable, and then the value is actually going to be a data type, which would be either a string, or it's going to be a number or a boolean, or um and it could be an array or even an object. So you can have objects of objects, and you can also have array of objects. So yeah, so we'll look at this more, and then we'll look at how to access objects. Like for example, if I want to print my name is Chisom and I'm 20 years old, how do I print that out if I'm given this object like this? Because the truth is, after processing a request, like let's say you're on your back end, after processing someone's request and you're sending a response, you might not send the response as a full sentence, like a full sentence. You might send it back as in this format. So in this as an object or as an array of objects. So Okay. Can you guys hear me now? Can you also see my screen? Can you hear me? Can you see my screen? Okay. So, sorry about that. All right. So let's go back to what we're doing. So yeah. So this lecture 5 in JavaScript Object and Introduction to Object-Oriented Programming by Victor Cook. So I'm Victor. So um, we are just going to look at objects today and OOP, Introduction to OOP. So what we are going to cover today is we're going to cover objects. So how to use objects, how to create objects, how to add values to objects, and the rest. Then we are going to look at array of objects, how to work with array of objects. So then we'll look at how to loop through an array of objects. Already we know how to loop through an array, so we'll talk about looping through an array of objects. Then we're going to talk about OOP in JavaScript, the introduction to OOP in JavaScript. So we're going to talk about classes and constructors, and we're going to see how to create objects and how to use them. So with that said, let's start. So what are objects? So objects are special kind of variables that contain key value pairs. So so first, you said they are special kind of variables. So constant, chisholm. Sorry about the capital C. That's supposed to be small letter C. So constant, and then we assign that to chisholm, and then we say the name should be chisholm, the age should be 20, and the value of logged in should be false. So we see that name here is the key, while chisholm is the value, and they come in pairs like this. So so that's this how objects look like. This how objects look like. And then there are more things you can do with an object. So you can also have an empty object. So an empty object is just an object that doesn't have any value in it. So you can create that and add values to it as you wish. So we are going to see how to do that in a short while. So then looking at an array of objects. So an array of objects contains objects which are accessed by the index given to them by the array they belong to. So this is an example. So we have users an as a variable, and then we have an array. Or let's say we see users as an array. Then that array of users contains each user. So how do you work with this kind of data? How do you access um, like the first object and the properties in it? How do you access the second object? How do you access the third object? How do you loop through them so that you can actually use it to maybe create if you're going to use it on front and maybe a list or something like that that the user can see and maybe understand. Actually, an example of this is when you log into your bank app and you go to your transaction history section. So you used to see the amounts you've transferred or the amounts you've received or the amounts you've deposited. So you can see that me say let's use user for example, and I want to create an object. So an object has this curly braces. So you can create an object with values in it already. So I can say maybe name should be Chisom, age should be 20. I don't know. Maybe state of origin should be Abia. Sorry, Abia State. Network wants to act up today. So if I run that, okay, age of 20. Yeah. So if I run that, I see uh Chisom. If I do age of C20. So of course I could create a full sentence from this. So I could say, good day, people. My name is, I say user dot name, and I'm from Abia State. So this is like a simple way of using an object that's sent to you, or um, an object, having access to an object. You can also do this. So if we created an empty object, for example, you can say user dot name should equals to uh, Victor. It say user dot age should be equals to 22, and then user dot state of origin should be equals to Akwa Ibom State. So running this will also give us good day, people. My name is Victor. I'm 22 years old. I am from Akwa Ibom State. So you can add properties to an object like this. Then you can use those data by using their variables name and then using this dot notation, or you can use this array like notation, which is like writing name. If you run this, it will still give you, okay, because I put dots, so running this would also give you the same output. So my name is, then you have user, then brackets like this, and then square brackets, and then you have name as a string passed in there. So you can do that for age and state of origin, and as much if you have a lot of data inside your object, for example, just use this way. So these are the two ways of actually accessing those data inside your object. Then so I hope, so can we use the literal quote style? Okay. um when you mean literal quotes, like using backticks, is that what you mean? Okay, yes, you can also use literals. So um if I wanted to rewrite this, I'll put that there. Then I'll remove all this here, remove all these signs. So yeah, then good day, people. My name is, then in here, if you want to access now, if you do this, it is just going to print exactly what you have here. So if you want to access Victor, for example, you put a dollar sign, brackets open, and then at the end you put brackets close. Yeah. So we'll do that for all. So dollar sign, brackets open, and come here. You, you close the brackets, and then here you do the same thing. Brackets, dollar sign, brackets open, and brackets close. If you do that, if you run it, it will give you the same, exactly the same output. Good day, people. My name is Victor. I'm 22 years old. So this way of printing out, I think this one is even more simpler than actually using concatenation. So you can print out your object this way. So good day, my name is, then this is going to replace user dot name. Like, just know that whatever I put in here, whatever I put in this dollar sign and these two braces, what you put in between here is going to be treated as JavaScript and not just a string. For example, is going to be treated as JavaScript. So if what you put here is an object or an array and all those stuff, it's going to replace here with the value of that array or that object. So uh so I hope I understand, I answered your question. Promise, almost. So uh so I hope we all understand to that point. So if you don't understand, just type on the comment section and I'll check it. So yeah, so let's say for example we have an array of objects. So let me delete all this. For example, say we have an array of objects. So okay, so we have an array of objects. Then here I have a, let me still use the same format. I put that inside there. Then of course, I hope you know you also separate these objects by comma, adding comma after each object. So this is an object on its own. You add a comma after it to signify that you want to add another object to the end. So if I have this, maybe then the last object, you don't need to put a comma after it. So Victor, who else do I have in my class? Peolua, uh, then Chisom, then we have Ope Olua, for example. And let's say he's from Lagos State, for example. So what else do I have? Um, so we also have that, and then I don't know. So I don't know. Let me just use that for example. State, or I know you're not from Delta State, for example. So 2021, 22, 23, for example. So how do you look through this? So you can use a for loop to actually look through it. So if we use a for loop, we said let I equals to 0, and we say I should be less than. So what should I write after that less than? Someone should tell me. And of course, we know we are going to write I plus plus here. So someone should tell me what the condition should be. So we have I is equals to 0. I should be less than what? What? Okay. Yeah. So Keto said, oh, okay. JH Abiola said 4. But you're correct. So, but 4 is hard coding the number of objects you have. So what if these objects become 5, for example, it means you won't see the fit um object if you had code 4 here. You get, if the objects become 3, then it means when it's printing this, it will, at a point it will print good day people, my name is undefined, I am undefined years old, and I am from undefined. If you actually had code the value, but we want this to be dynamic. So if the number of objects inside this array changes, then the this value should change dynamically. So yeah, so Keto said user.length, and that is correct. So if you put user.length, so user.length will give you the number of objects inside this array, or the number of properties inside this array. So we do that, then console.log. If we want to print out the names now, what do you think we would do? So let me see. So we would write user index of I dot name. So if we run that, I made a mistake. Okay. So sorry. Yeah. So if I run that now, see we have it printing all the names out: Victor, Chisom, Opeolowa, and Ibukun. So we could use this to do exactly the same thing we did before. So could do, okay, using backticks, because I want you guys to get used to this. Hello, my name is, and dollar sign. You open your curly braces in the value there. I am I am age, and my state of origin is dollar sign that, and then now put state of origin. So yeah, so it's going to print each of them. So hello, my name is Victor, I'm 20. This is this, like, so we see that we can actually use for to uh look through um we can use for to actually look through to the value of each of these objects inside the array and get individual values, so no matter how many they are. So I hope we all are on the same page, we all are following. So are you following? If you're following, let me see a yes on the comment section. Okay, so yeah, so let's go back to the slide. So yeah, we've treated this part. Then we treated looping through uh, an array of objects. So we have user, we have all this, and then like this is an example. Then you can use this, and you can also use for off. For user of, or so this should be users actually, because this is plural, this is a list. For user of users, then should console.log. So if we do is console.log users, and then uh inside here say users of user, or if let me see, if we console.log user, what do we see? So it's giving us out the value here. So you can actually use for off. So user dot okay, sorry, user here, and then say name. Okay, so you could also use this to um do what we did before. So so this name refers to the object, the property in that object, like each of the objects, name. So you're going, it's going to look through all the names. Then this user, so we said we are looping through user, like user of users. So these users here is referring to these users. Then we are saying for each of the objects inside here, we want to give each of these objects a name. So we give each of these objects a name user. Then we can now say this for each of the users, which is an object. We now say we want to access their name. So we now say user, then we use this notation and say name. So we are trying to access the name for that particular user. If I did if I said you here, then I'll have to say you with brackets name, and it will still give me exactly the same output. So this is another way of looping through. So then now this is looping through to get the value, right? So I hope you guys understand up to this point. Okay. So um what else? What else do we do? So you can use for off to loop through. So if I change this to H, for example, so it's going to print out their respective age. If I change it to state of origin, it's going to print out state of origin. So so let's continue. So then we are going to talk briefly on object oriented programming in JavaScript. And we are going to talk about classes, properties, and methods today. So so what are classes? So we see that classes are templates for creating objects. Um, so let me try to explain that using an example. So let's think of let's take a bakery for example. So every bread has a particular size, right? Every every bread has a particular size. So they don't just pick bread and then just put it in the oven. So there's always a particular size for each bread. So what is used to um, put what is used to create the bread, or what is used to make the bread, that thing is like kind of a template. That's I don't know actually what the name they call it, but it's always rectangular. Then when they put the bread, that's when it's not yet baked. They now put it into the oven. So that thing now shapes the the size of the bread. So you can now differentiate one bread from another, like based on its size, because of that thing, that template. So a class is like that template itself. So where you can use that particular template in the bakery to create thousands of bread, and they will always be the same size. And you can have different types of templates, for example. So a class is like that. So when you create a class, you're creating a template that can be used to uh, be used for creating objects. So objects are like the bread. So let's take bread as an object, for example. So the bread is the object that is created from that template that is being put in. Or if we think of another way of thinking of it is like a car factory. So a car factory can have just one the design of the car. Or okay, let's not use a car, let's use a house. So when you're building a house, before you build the house, you have the blueprint, you have the drawing of the house, and then you use that drawing to build the house. Then that drawing can be used to produce 5 of those houses, right? But it's the same drawing, but it can be used to create. So uh sorry, the noise was too much. So um I was saying you can use a blueprint, the architectural drawing to create a lot of houses at the same time. So you create one house, create two houses, create 3 houses, and all those stuff from that one. So that's the purpose of classes. So then what are constructors? So constructors is a constructor method is a special method for creating and initializing an object created with a class. So you use constructors inside classes. So I'm going to show you how that works. So you use constructors to create properties for a particular object or for a particular class. So let's take, for example, a um let's take for example a car company. Let me use that example, a car company. So a car company has, okay, let's use for example Toyota. So Toyota has Toyota Camry, Toyota Corolla, Toyota Venza, and the rest. So Toyota Corolla, a particular Toyota Corolla, like for example, if I have a Toyota Corolla, my Toyota Corolla has a color, it has a size, maybe um, the wheels, the size of the wheels, it has the number of the liters that engine can carry, and most of all those other things. So when they are creating, when the factory is creating my car, they create my car with all those properties in mind, right? So those properties in programming are created using constructors. So if I create a car class, for example, I use constructors to give that car class properties. Then when I'm creating an object using that class, I pass in the values for those properties. Okay, so it might not be very clear to you now, except I do it for real. So if I create a class named car, right? And then I do this, for example. I've created a class named car, but this class doesn't have like what we can use to identify it, right? So we can use constructors to create properties to identify it. Like for example, the plate number of your car is a property of your car, is what people can use to differentiate it from other cars, like the color of your car. So if you see three Camrys in front of you, and then your Camry was red, and you see red, yellow, and black, you obviously know that the red one should be your own if the plate number also match um your plate number, like the plate number you were given. So let's do that. So we create a constructor here, and then this constructor will take in the value of the properties. So so what does a car have? So a car has a color, has uh liter, abi. So let me call it max liter. And we have abi, which one? Whatever. Then we have what again do we have as a property? So nobody has said anything. So we have color, max liter, we have steering size or steering diameter. So or whatever. Um let me add. Then okay, let's say we just have those three properties, for example. So if we want, this is not enough to just put this here. You have to say that this car's color should be equals to the color you are passing to the constructor. This car's max liter should be equal to the max liter you're trying to pass here, the value of the max litter, then this car's steering diameter should be equal to the steering diameter you're going to pass here. So let's say, so now if you want to say this dot color should be equals to color this dot max liter should be equals to max liter. It should be very fun to do. This dot steering diameter should be equal to steering diameter, for example. So we've created this class. Congratulations, we've created this class with the following properties. So let's say we want to create a car, and I don't know. Let me think of my own company. For example, I want to create a car for my company, and then I name the car uh, V Rose, for example. So that's the name of the car I want to create. So I would say V Rose should be equals to new car. So I'm creating. So this is like a blueprint of the car I want to create with its properties, and I'll show you how to actually use methods in here. So these are its properties. Then now I can now give that this car a property, the value for its property. So I could say the color should be black. Uh, I could say the max liter it should carry is like 8 liters, for example, or that would be a string. So 8 liters, and then the steering diameter should be like I don't know, maybe 40 cm. That should also be a string. I can decide to create another car. Maybe let's v Rolls Max, for example, if there is the name of another car, or v Rolls Jeep, for example, should be equals to a new car. So, and I give that car its own property. Maybe color should be blue. This one should take 6 liters of, but then the diameter should be 60 cm, for example. So I've created these two objects. So this car is totally different from this one because of number one, its name, and the properties they have. So if I say, so if I want to get the color of my views, I'll do console.log. I'll say vrows dot color. But if I want to get the color of the views Jeep, I'll say console.log. I'll say vrows Jeep dot color. So checking out this will show you that these are two different, let's say for example, cars produced from a car template. So, or the blueprint of a car, or the template of a car. So this is like me creating the template for this particular car. Then then I could create methods inside this car. So I remember I said properties are like who you are, what people can identify you with. Like this car is black, it has 8 liters engine and 40 cm steering diameter, for example. So what can a car do? So you can start the car, you can um start the car. What else can you do with the car? You can drive it and all those stuff. So let's say you can start a car. All right. So I could say, okay, for example, if I want to start my car, okay, I can start my car, I can horn. So I start my car. So if I call start my car inside there and say console.log, and maybe fast started, for example, and then I do horn, for example. So um so uh then pin, for example. So notice the way I call the properties. So I didn't add any um brackets here or parentheses to it. So if I want to call start my car, for example, from zeros, for I'll just do console.log maybe so start my car. So I'll do zeros dot start my car. So if I run that, okay, now you see it's telling us it's actually a function, and then that's the name start my car. So we have to call it. So if we put that bracket in front of it, you see that the color has changed. So this yellow color is telling you that it's a function. So if we run it now, you should see car started. So why is undefined showing there? I want to just see. So we see car started there. Then I don't know why the undefined is actually coming up there. But this is a simple way of actually using methods and properties on your object. So you can create a class, and then you have properties for that class which you declare like this, or you have methods. And so now one thing you should note is a function inside an object or a class is referred to as a method, while a variable inside an object can be referred to as its property. So like these are properties for this car class, and then these are these are methods for this car class. So I hope if you have okay, okay, type of fuel, get type, okay, get type of fuel, yeah, we could add that get type of fuel, yeah, true. So so I guess you guys understand up to this level, up to this point. So this is just basic introduction to object-oriented programming. So there are more, we're actually going to dig in more. We'll find out a lot of things we can do with objects in our next class. So rounding up this class. So if you have any question, just ask it on the comment section. So I'm listening if you have any question. If you understand, come to the comment section and say yes, I understand. So I'll be sure you're following. So I hope we all are on the same page. Is there anybody that doesn't understand? Okay, Chisom says I don't understand. Okay. So what aspects do you find difficult to understand, Chisom? Okay, Anderson Victor. Yes, this is going to be on YouTube, definitely. So there will be a link to it. There's always going to be, for every class we have on Zoom, there's always going to be a link to it, and it will always be posted on YouTube. So yes, there's going to be a link to it, which you can watch later. Okay, he said explain the constructor side again. Okay, so don't okay, just think about this as variables. Just think about it like that. But since these are inside the class, these are properties actually. So this color here is what you are passing here. This color here, the value of this color is what you are passing here. The value of max liter, so max liter will become 8 liters. Steering diameter will become 40 cm for this v rows, for this particular object. So this v rows now is an object, and then you are creating a new v rows from car. So car is like a blueprint you're using to follow how to create that object. Then you're saying this car should have a color property. This keyword refers to car, this particular class, like the objects for this particular class, like the object you're trying to create. So sorry, so this is like saying when you create a new car and you name this car Virus, you're saying the color of Virus, the color of Virus should be equal to black. So this is like saying Virus color should be black. Virus, but of course you can't write Virus here or Virus. You can't write that. So you're going to use this to refer to. So anytime that as you're creating the properties, and this constructor is also being created, these properties are going to be declared. So this will be like the color for that particular object you're creating, the max liter for that object you're creating, the steering diameter for that object you're creating. You understand? Is going to be equal to this constructor here. The value of these constructors are what you are passing here as arguments for this car. So here, this black here is referring to this black here. This 8 liter is referring to this one. This 40 cm is referring to this one. So you're saying, for example, for this Virus, you're saying Virus color should be equals to the value you're getting from this color, which is black. So oh, sorry. So if you do that, you say hello, it says hello Victor, right? So this is in a way similar to what you're doing here, but here you're not calling the function, you're creating a new property and you're giving, this is like saying this part is like saying call this function hello and pass a string to that function. Then, so you're saying hello and you're saying Victor here has a string. So this function hello is going to be called, and then the value of this name will now become Victor. Then, since the value of this name is Victor, you're not outputting it here. Now saying name hello Victor. So it's the same thing here. If you really study it, you'd see that you're passing these variables in here. You're passing, like for example, this if this for this object, for example, we are saying we are creating a new car, and then inside that car, we are saying that the color for this particular car should be blue, which is this blue here is going to be this color here. Like that, this 6 liter is going to be the max liter, which is this one. Then you're now saying the max liter for that particular object is equals to the value of this max liter, which is going to be this 6 liter, like that, like that. Okay, so Chisom now understands it. So practice more about how to use this class and objects. So there's more to it, and then we are going to actually dive in more on objects on our next class or in our next class, and we are going to look at some other things too. So next class we are going to do object-oriented programming and some other few topics. We are going to cover some few topics too. So I hope you guys enjoyed the class. So uh, thanks a lot for coming. If you still have any question, you can ask here. So I hope there is no question. I hope there's no question. Anybody has any question? So okay, okay, cool. So Chisom says he or she enjoyed the class. Cool. All right. Yeah, yes, you just have to practice more. Yes, just definitely you practice more. So for people that already know the basics, very soon we are going to start working with back end. We are going to write back end code, and we are going to test it. We are going to see how it works. So okay, so I guess we could do this now. So I hope, how many of you guys downloaded Node.js? How many of you guys downloaded it? If you've downloaded it, it just indicates in the comment section. So if you've not downloaded it, so I remember I said the two things you need to download now is VS Code and Node. Okay, so Keto, you have VS Code. Do you have okay, you have Node and VS Code. Which one do you have? Do you have both, or do you have one without the other one? Okay, you have both. Okay, cool. So Ibukun, which one do you have? Have you downloaded it? If you've not downloaded it, then it's quite simple to download. Okay, Chisom, you have VS Code. Do you have Node? Okay, you don't have Node. Okay, so if you search Node.js, you should see it. So Node.js, if you come to Node.js, okay, it's nodejs.org. Then you should see you which one you want to download. Is it the long-term support version or the current version? But um, any of these you would download would work. So you could download the current version or the long-term support. So LTS means long-term support. So should I let me just speak a little bit about this long-term support. So long-term support just means this particular version of um, node is stable, and it's going to um, be valid for a long time, like let's say up to a year or more, even more than a year. So people that are using this long-term support version can use it for a long time, and then they are not going to have issues because it is relatively very stable. Then the latest version might not be as stable as the long-term support version. So so that's the thing. So if I was supposed to download, maybe I'll download the long-term support version. So this is where you download. Okay, this is for Linux actually. Okay, so when once you come to download, I'm sure you would see for Windows. So okay, so you see Windows installer. You see, the reason why they showed me Linux is because I'm using Linux actually. So if you come to download, you see Windows installer for you guys that use Mac OS. I'm sure you guys are here too. So you use here, or then if you want to download the source code .start.gz, this is almost like .zip. If you want to download the source code directly, then you use this. So yeah, so this is where you download the official version of Node.js. So I encourage you guys to download it so we can actually use that version, and you can also rehearse at home. Try one or two things. So um, so there's an assignment I actually want to give. So um, I want you guys to do this. So I want you guys to reverse a string. So you create a function that reverses a string. So if I say function, for example, reverse string, and then the value of the string will be passed here. So if I call that val, and let's say maybe let's say value of the string, let's say um let val equals to maybe hello. Then I want the like what should be shown to me after reversing the string should be uh OLLEH. So whatever string I pass in here, it should reverse it. It should start from the end to like output it. So it should output the kind of, should I say, a mirror version or the reverse version of that string. So that is the assignment I want you guys to try out, and then there will be a link for you to submit the assignment later on. So that's what I want you to. So this is going to be it's not going to be hard. Just use the methods I taught you about string and the methods I taught you about array. If you look at those methods closely, you should understand how the procedure you're going to use to actually um, reverse the string. You pick the string, and then you go through some procedures before you can now get the reverse of this particular string. Then you output it. So yes, so that's what I want you to do. So on that note, we've come to the end of the class for today. So thank you everybody. Thank you everyone for staying in class and being attentive. I really appreciate that. So thank you very much.